Greetings again and welcome back to Smartwatch Tics, where we just finished unboxing the brand new FINOW X1 watch. And now we're going to turn it on and take a quick look at everything that goes on inside of it. We got a screwdriver, extra screws, a manual, a nice pillow actually, which is something nice to be able to put this watch on to store it overnight. The charging cradle, and a USB connector. All of that stuff was in the box. But the watch is what we're really interested in, and we're booting it up right now. You see the globe is featured there, and it spins around. It just made a tiny little vibration as it's starting to load itself up with its operating system. Now, by way of watches in general, especially these round ones, you have three different things to be aware of. You have the hardware, which is the actual physical design of the watch. And companies have certain latitude in what they do with that, but a lot of times the hardware is kind of set, and you may find the same hardware by different names. This is the FINOW X1. You also see pretty much the same hardware in a form called the No.1 D5. You also see it as a Mini K8 or K8 Mini. A difference with this one is it has writing on the back. But other than that, the hardware is very, very similar. Then you have software, which is the operating system inside the watch. These all are running on Android. In fact, we'll see later, Android 4.4.2. That's the operating system that runs these watches. Then there's a thing called firmware. And firmware is pretty much unique to every manufacturer. The globe you saw at the beginning was part of the firmware designed specifically for the X1. It looks different on the D5 or the K8 Mini. I'm taking you through these menus that are available on the watch simply by swiping from left to right. We have no SIM card in it. We have no Wi-Fi connected. We just turned it on straight out of the box. So anything that requires connections, you're not going to see any information. I'm just showing you the layout. But I wanted to go through those details so that you would know that there are differences between all of these. And if this looks like something you've seen before, you're right. If it is different than what you've seen before, you're right again. Let's go into the thing, okay? Well, you want to see clock faces quickly? All right. We will run you through the various watch faces, and they're installed called as clock skins. These are the actual manufacturer-provided ones. Now, since they seem to be the same, if not identical, across all the different hardware platforms, this is probably burned into the core firmware that is provided to all of the different watch manufacturers, so that they can then do their overlay. It's kind of like in the phone market. You know, if you get yourself, I don't know, a Moto or an LG or a Samsung, they all have different overlays on them, even though they're running the basic Android operating system underneath. And those overlays are the firmware. And we talk about bloatware that's installed, and we talk about the different interface and the purity of true Android, all those things that come with the Nexus kind of phones. Well, you got the same sort of thing happening here with the watches. Everybody's got their little unique spin to it. And there is a unique spin in this one, which I'm going to show you here shortly. See the gears turning in there? I know I'm rushing through them fairly quickly, but good to see them. Nice on a silver watch, isn't that nice? Okay, that's the first half. We'll come back. When you touch the watch, you go right into the core apps, and they're laid out a lot like what you see in Android Wear, where all of the apps are in a scrollable list. Yeah, it's nice initially, but when you've got a lot of apps installed, it can be very complicated and challenging. If this looks familiar, this layout is very similar, if not identical, to what you find in the same platform of watch. But there are some subtle differences. Just so that you see what's on board, we'll scroll through them all. These are the core apps. That's an important one, folks. The Play Store is your gateway to everything Android. And it's through Google, so these things are all virus screened and all that other stuff that happens when you install them on your phone. It's here on your watch. That's a good thing to look for if you're looking for a standalone Android-based device that you can do all those good things with. Let's jump into the Watch Helper. The Watch Helper is the location where you are able to get information to connect your watch with your phone. Now, some of the other platforms that have the same hardware and the same software have different firmware behind the Watch Helper. When you come into the Watch Helper on this watch, instead of just getting a barcode that gives you a link to an app that you download on your phone, you actually have some options. You can connect Bluetooth, vibrate when messages arrive, sound tips, the play sound when a message arrives. All these things have check marks. You can turn them on or off. Turn the screen on when a message arrives if you'd like. Read your incoming SMS messages through Bluetooth. Missed call counts notifications for your missed calls. Incoming call tips, notification for incoming calls, okay. Find your target being your phone. This is, they call it anti-loss in most of the Chinese literature on it. If you get too far away, you know, your phone and your watch will beep. Transfer files to the phone. So if you want to be able to transfer back and forth from your phone to your watch, say pictures or something, you can. And then there's the little barcode thing that you download for the mobile app. That's different on this watch, and we're going to have some fun playing with that to see how it works. You swipe down from the top to go back one level. You can scroll all the way back up, the list of your apps, and we can go into settings, where you have, as before, your clock settings, sound, display. This is where you can set how many minutes it is of inactivity before it will sleep. I have it set up to 5 minutes now, so it's not going to just bleep out on us, but you can go as low as 15 seconds, which I recommend for saving battery. Although you get great battery life on these watches. I presume this one as well. And here we go into connections. You've got Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. You can go into airplane mode, which I think I just did. Didn't mean to. Do a Wi-Fi hotspot, believe it or not. If you have a SIM card that supports data, you could turn your watch into a hotspot that you can then take your tablet with you and do everything internet on your tablet through your watch. Pretty cool. Highly unlikely you'll do that, though, unless you got a good SIM card and charged battery, because I can imagine that's going to eat a lot of battery juice from your capabilities there. Power saving mode, language and inputs, resetting, device management, uninstall application, and then your about device. About device is where you'll find things like your update, which lets you do what they call OTA, over-the-air updating of your firmware from the company. As new things are released or new bugs are fixed, old bugs, then they'll release a new firmware, and you often can get that through an OTA push. It's just like on your phone. Developer options, going to come back into that in a moment. The status about your phone information, and now, for those of you that like to track this, this is a model W812A watch. It's using Android version 4.4.2. That's the baseband information. That's the kernel version, back on Friday, December 18th, we presume last year. And there's the build number with the custom build version. This is what folks track to see what you've got in terms of the latest revision of software. 15, probably 2015, 12 for December 18. All right, that's what's installed on this device. But you saw in the box it was March 2016 release. So they're coming out now, and we look for updates if they are available and put them on the watch. The developer options, I'm going to ask you to stay out of that most of the time, because you can really get yourself into trouble. If you play with the linking to an external monitor, for example, you can brick this thing or totally make it black so you can't see what's going on. But there is one thing in here that you might want to play with, and that's the stay awake. Stay awake will let the watch stay awake, literally, when you're charging. So if you wanted to set it beside your bed, for example, in your charging cradle, lay it on its side, and have it showing you the time, you could do that by simply touching the button and putting a check mark there. It doesn't affect it when you're out and about because it only stays on full time while charging. But that's a feature that I like to have turned on. Okay, that's an overview of the basic software. You slide down from the top, you touch and scroll. When you're at the top level, you can move to the left to get your notifications, to the right to see other screens. Your pedometer, heart rate monitor are located here in the health. And again, you just strap it on with the sensor, touch the heart rate monitor, and you'll get that. The pedometer is on all the time, and it resets itself at midnight, I guess. So you get your new step count every day. And those items, the heart rate and the pedometer reading, will show up in some of the different watch faces, which we're going to finish this overview by going through and taking a look at some of the other ones. Some really fancy and nice watch designs. And you can see from the screen that the resolution is very, very nice. It's actually a 360 pixel screen, which means if it were rectangular, it would be 360 by 360. And it's a 1.3 inch diameter TFT screen. Ooh, yeah. The CPU is an MTK 8572 dual core running at a whopping 1.0 gigahertz. It's a watch, folks. It's not a virtual reality gaming computer. Come on. What else? It runs Bluetooth version 4.0, which is important for low power consumption. And it has some really nice power management in it that has it do things that save power when it's not being used, when it's not turned on. It's very efficient in power. If this one is like my familiarity with, for example, the No.1 D5, and I'm sure it is on those aspects, that should be part of the software and crossed over into parts of the firmware as well. See there it's saying that the battery is 97%. Today's the 18th, although I don't think it is. The watch has not been set, because I haven't put it on Wi-Fi yet. Another particular watch face. So, what about FINOW? I'm not sure. I call it FINOW because it's easy to pronounce. It could be FINOW, like a minnow. They have a website that's worthy of checking out. By the way, you see this going from this watch face to that watch face? There's a little space in between the two that when you expand it by installing your own watch faces, they will show up between these two. And we will be talking more about that. We already have videos up, including an entire training workshop on how to create your own watch faces. They work on this platform because it's basically the same hardware and software as the No.1 D5. So you get this watch, the X1, and you basically have all the same capabilities and perhaps even more with regard to tethering. Okay, we were talking about the company, and you can learn about them by going to their website, which is, the company is FINOW, right? FINOW, and their website is FINOWATCH.com. FINOWatch.com. And they actually have a really nice store presence on AliExpress. And I will have a link at the bottom of this video to that particular store page as well. So you got a lot when you're looking at this watch. You've got good customer support. You've got a direct retail company that's the front end of the manufacturer, and you have a manufacturer's presence on the web. You don't see that often. No.1 is about the only other company that has a presence out there that detailed. Some of the others like ZGPAX and AOKIE and others I don't even know how to pronounce, you don't see anything about them. They make things and they send them to distributors, and those guys have little storefronts, you know, on various vendor sites. and you're just kind of getting them third or fourth hand that way. But I've been impressed that this particular line, which consists of the entry-level one, the X1 we're looking at right now, and they also have an X2, which is very similar to this watch, but it has 2 buttons on the side. And then they have another really new one called the X3, which hopefully we will be taking a look at here soon. And it has 3 buttons on the side, a larger screen, and more bells and whistles. There's a lot of watch faces, and these are the ones that come standard with the watch. So if you're not even interested in creating your own and installing them, or finding out what the developers have come up with, and they have come up with some amazing, amazing ones. You can see that in another video that we have here as well. Over 100 developer-produced watch faces, which you can drop right into this watch as well. But if you're happy with just the installed ones, that looks like a different one to me. I'm not sure. After a while, they all meld together, but their core watch faces are sometimes 1 or 2 of them are different from watch to watch. I like that one with the way it kind of digital, but it's got the time in spots, right? With shadows. Another simple design. Anything else you guys want to know about this? How about its bands? It works off of your basic GSM 850, 900, 1800, and 1900 megahertz. For the 3G, it's designed pretty much for the China market, 2100 megahertz, but it claims 850 as well, which in the major cities in America anyway, the 850 band is used for 3G. So you might be able to actually get 3G connectivity from this particular watch. Haven't seen that spec on all of these, so that might be a firmware implementation. All right, there you have it. A quick overview of and a rundown of what you've got in the firmware and software, and another quick look at the hardware of the FINOW, F-I-N-O-W, X1 smartwatch phone. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, you might think about it because we got more videos coming. Smartwatch Ticks, your YouTube channel.